Welcome to the after show reaction of the 9 lives of Vince McMahon, aka the best of Dark Side of the Ring. Gonna bring on Dangerous Andrew. We're gonna speak about this travesty of 2 hours, which I watched, and I'll fucking tell you, man. I took a nap midway through that goddamn thing because I've seen all that shit before. I don't know about you, Andrew, but the word premiere, not a good idea in that situation.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Vince. Let me be the first to congratulate Mr. McMahon and all of his future endeavors as far as once again becoming the chairman of World Wrestling Entertainment, because it's then, now, forever, and together. That's the most important part. It's together.
Yeah,
They're a family.
yeah. Them fucking I'll tell you right now, I don't care. And we're 40 seconds in, man. So the people watching us that are WWE fans, all the power to you if you're a fan. But if you cheer that man's name, you need to get a fucking life because he is one of the most disgusting, disgraceful human beings to ever walk Earth. Like you just
Slimy.
look at the things. That's fluff. That was basically fluff that they put on Dark Side of the Ring. Okay, that was just a tip of the iceberg of the stuff that man has done. He is a disgusting human being. If he was a relative of yours that didn't have money, he would not be at Christmas, and if he was, he'd be off by himself in the corner. He'd be the creepy cousin, is what he'd be. How do you feel about that, Andrew? About my comments?
Well, he's a complicated individual.
Oh, yeah,
And and I am glad that we get to hear Vince Russo and his stunted way of speaking, where every word has a period at the end.
okay. Well, anyway, let's go into it because again, I was very disappointed by it. It was basically Best of Dark Side of the Ring. To anyone that hasn't seen it, let me give you a quick heads up. Maybe if you watch it on demand, check the last 9 minutes out. That's all you need to do. Because if you've seen Dark Side of the Ring and it's the last 9 minutes that literally brings anything new into the mix, it should not been put out as a premiere. There's no premiere to that whatsoever. That is garbage, is what that was. Starts out with Vince and his upbringing in the trailer park with his stepdad that he wanted to kill, but the stepdad died. His mom played with him a little bit when he was younger. Not the way your parents are supposed to play with you. But Vince doesn't mind. Vince, that's fine, Mom, that you did it to me. I'll still praise you and put you in a nice nursing home where you play tennis and you live to 100. Is this Mars still alive or is she gone yet?
No, she died this year. She was my second pick in our death picks. And a reminder, you have to be thinking about that because we'll be doing that
I
soon,
understand that.
January 1.
Yes. And for people that don't ask questions. Don't
Yeah, you
don't
don't
ask.
need to know about that.
That's just dark shit.
Yeah.
So Vince
We
loved
don't even
her.
get anything for it either. We should have like some sort of side bet. We
No,
don't
we're
even
not
do
betting on
anything.
people
It's just
dying. That's some
just for
sick
fun.
shit.
It's just for fun.
Um, Vince talks about that. Then we jump into him being a kid. He goes to military school, which I was saying before. We tried to record this earlier. We had some issues. That's where he supposedly met Danny Davis. Supposedly they were buddies there. And supposedly Vince did something bad and Davis took the rap for him. And that's part of the story why he got a job there later on in life. That could be bullshit. I think I heard it on a shoot interview before, and you got to take them with a grain of salt. You don't know what they're really saying is the truth or not. Like everyone, oh, I'm gone. Let's bring me back here. Sorry about that. New computer. There we go. Everyone says that they were supposed to be the world champion, but they weren't. So it's whatever. But I heard that story. Well, Davis, he was around for a long time. A lot of people thought he came in '87. He was around up early in '83, I think. Davis was he not as Mr. X in
82.
'83?
I was watching
'82.
some 82 stuff earlier today, and he was on there.
Dan Davis was there in '82, which is like crazy. He didn't even become a wrestler in '87. He did Mr. X. Did he do anything else? Was it just Mr. X he did?
84. He was 84, 85. I think he started Mr. X.
He was roughing in '82.
Yeah, maybe
Then he went,
earlier.
yeah. And then he went in '87. He did the heel turn. And I'll tell you something, man. We'll get to Vince second. Davis, that was like, man, he was a top fucking heel when he turned. Like, you look at Mania. He was one of the main attractions of that show. Do you agree?
Yeah, because
And
it was
wrestling?
perfect timing,
Yeah.
because it was just right around that time. You tailored some of the other acts on the show, whether
Mhm.
it be Hercules or Butch Reed. They had been on TV for a bit, and they I guess Billy Jack and Herc had a
Billy
bit of a
Jerk, you mean?
program.
Billy Jerk.
Sorry, Billy Jerk. But the focus should be on the 9 lives of Vince McMahon. And if you're going to take
Yeah.
the time to watch this, you've probably watched it if you're watching the after show, the review by future Hall of Famer Scottie B and Dangerous Andrew. And what did you think? Do you disagree with our comments? Do you think it was a great presentation? Because for me, it kind of felt like the George and Tammy, the George Jones and Tammy Wynette. It isn't for the hardcores because the hardcores know the real story,
Mhm.
and it's not for the, I don't want to say mainstream fans, but it's not for the casual viewer, because a lot of times it will have references to things that it expects you to know. So it's like, how can you play it both sides? Like,
Well, the problem with it, like, yeah, it was just like so. As I was saying before, I kind of went into a little tangent with Dan Davis. Talking about military school, they talked with him with his father. They finally admitted that his father helped him, which I was impressed by. They finally admitted to that his father helped him because they started with that whole spiel his father didn't know what he was going to do. The backstory of that is still with Vince. His father definitely knew what he was going to do. His father helped him get away from NWA. His father helped him get guys to come over. His father held the curtain for Hogan when Hogan went out at MSG. That's a big thing. People don't think that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. That's almost like Vince Sr. passed the torch to Junior. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
So that's a big deal. So his father knew. Now, finally, they kind of acknowledged that maybe he didn't know at first, and I'm down for that. Maybe his father didn't know at first what he was going to do, but he did agree to it. Um, they jump into Mania. They jump into TBS. Now, Black Saturday is a different thing. Now, Black Saturday happens in June of '84, right? Do you know the story where Vince sells it back to Crockett for $1 million and tells him to choke on it, and that's how he finances Mania 1? They talk about that in the documentary. They say it helps him finance Mania 1. That's
yeah,
not
it
true.
probably helped them pay for some of the celebs, like maybe Muhammad Ali was
Maybe
probably out
because they
for it.
weren't off TBS. They weren't off TBS in Mania 1 because they have a show that morning or the morning before, March 30th of '85. Um, like Meltzer said in the story of Mania 1, from what I know, is that it was bombing pretty bad. It still didn't do good in a lot of places. People like think it did great everywhere. There was places where they did not sell any tickets at all. And what got them over the hump was that weekend of publicity when Hogan almost killed Richard Belzer, when he gave him the face lock and dropped him on his fucking head. And then Saturday Night Live, which I was impressed with, they did understand they were a substitute. The person who was supposed to be the host bailed out at the last minute, so they were a substitute that night. And I'd imagine Hogan and T were a little hungover the next day because remember Mania 1 started at 1 p.m. and Saturday Night Live is very famous for their after parties.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know about T, but Hogan was a wrestler. I mean, they're on the road all the time. I mean, that's the norm.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and I think Hogan liked the
It's
drugs.
like from New York to New York, that's a hell of a trip.
Yeah, across the street to the fucking to MSG. Um, so you go into that, the Top Mania. They kind of just jump right to the steroid trial, pretty much.
There was a little bridge. They talked about how the Rita Chapperton case kind of got sidetracked by the steroid scandal, and that's when they
That
went
came out
into the
after
steroid.
the steroid scandal. Steroid scandal came out in '91.
Yeah,
It started in '91 with Zahorian, and then the Rita thing came out in '92 because she goes on Geraldo, which is like, man, you're asking like nothing against Rita, and I definitely believe, yeah, that happened to her. We'll get into Greg Valentine's comments here in a second. Um, but it happened in '92. So the Zahorian thing starts in '91. One thing they got wrong, they said the steroid distribution became illegal in '91. That's a lie. It became illegal in '89. That's when it became illegal, was '89. Because the big thing about the steroid trial was all about Nassau Coliseum, because they were delivering steroids to that arena and they were trying to pin it on Hogan. They were trying to pin Hogan into it. That's where it all gets into. So '91 is not right. '89 is when it actually becomes illegal. Zahorian gets caught. You ever hear the story about supposedly he's on the phone with someone and he's shredding documents? The FBI just walks right. They bust him while he was shredding documents.
that's
Just like
beautiful.
something like out of a movie, or just shredding documents, and the fucking FBI just bust your door down. And that picture was not. They didn't look at that picture and say that's how they got him was they caught him shredding wrestlers' documents. That's how they caught him. They found Piper, Martel, and a couple other guys in that list. And I'm not shitting on my ass with these things I've read. You know what I mean? I could be wrong, but I've read them from like as much as I don't like Dave Meltzer, I love his history. Do you know what I mean? His history is usually pretty accurate. So I'll source Dave Meltzer on that. So they go to Rita. What does Greg Valentine say about Rita there, Andrew?
He said that he didn't believe that it happened because she wasn't pretty enough for Vince, and there's so many things wrong with that. For starters, has Greg Valentine ever looked at a mirror? Second, is he aware of how Vince looks? There's a reason that man had to pay $7.5 million to get a BJ, because nobody's given it to him for free. He had to become successful. He had to be born into wrestling royalty, or else his,
he's selling paper cups still.
Yeah, he's selling paper cups.
Yeah, or trying to get evil jump over a fucking lake. Yeah, Valentine. That's pretty. And the thing that's sad because I've watched Valentine's shoots and I liked them. I thought Valentine seemed like a lot of fun to listen to, but now I can't listen to that guy like that. And I'm not saying this to be politically correct, people. I'll tell you like it is. I don't care. I mean, if I don't believe, and it doesn't, I will be controversial supposedly, but I'm sorry, you don't say that about a woman. That's very disrespectful because that happened to that woman, and I believe that 100%. That's a pretty traumatizing experience to go through, and that can haunt you for the rest of your life.
Well, now you believe it 100%. You don't think that? I mean, you would actually think that Vince McMahon would do things without the consent of his partner.
He does this probably daily. This man is a piece of shit. And as I've said before to all the WWE fans who just love him and they praise him about how great he is, listen, people. Andrew's muted on me here. I can't hear him for some
No,
reason.
I was just mouthing the words
Okay.
"Thank you, Vince" while you were
Like
talking.
it's too bad to the general audience, the newer audience that doesn't get it. They don't know what kind of person this guy is. Like, I don't know if he's at the level of Buck Zumhoff yet. Would you put him at that level?
I mean, maybe things will probably get out in the future. There will be more. Like, he's not as bad as Buck, okay? But I mean, that's a steep hill to climb for anybody. I mean, there's Buck, Benoit, and Grizzly Smith at the top of the mountain, and everybody else is looking up.
Oh, by the way, they bring up the Snuka thing where he basically paid the police to let Snuka go. Walks in with the briefcase. I mean, come on, people. You know, you can sit behind blinders and think that this man didn't do these kind of things, but his reputation perceives him of what kind of person he is. So yes, he probably paid the police, and then Snuka ended up getting arrested decades later. So we go into that. We go into the steroid trial. The steroid trial was bullshit. I mean, that was the Vince encouraged his guys to do steroids. You're fucking right, he did. He didn't say it right up, but I'll tell you right now, guys that were 190 pounds weren't getting pushed, man. Guys like that were getting pushed were big motherfuckers.
Yeah,
And I
and
mean,
it wasn't necessarily relevant to talent either. I mean, if you were smaller and really great, you had to be really, really great. If you were bigger, you had so many chances. How many opportunities did Brian Adams get with being over exactly none?
Big John Studd, another guy, seemed like
Yeah,
a
no
great
big
human
John
being,
Studd.
but I mean, he was shit. He was a shits, man. He was no good. Like
Yeah,
I've watched
but
matches with
he
Studd.
wasn't muscular. Like, he wasn't overly like roided up. He was just big.
He used a lot of fucking steroids, man. It killed him in the end. Like, did you hear the shit that he did? Like he did shit like that was wacky shit. We'll get into Rick Rude in a couple minutes about that too. By the way, you can tell the Rick Rude story. So they get into the steroid trial. That was just, I think that was just the government just going in unprepared. They weren't prepared for that. And I think they thought Hogan was going to be their like guy to talk about in there. It was just, and Hogan basically fucking turned on them. He turned heel on them pretty fucking quick when he got up on that stand and just saved Vince's ass, which I never understood why Vince was so mad about that because Hogan saved him.
Because you can't expect the thoughts of Vincent Kennedy McMahon to be anything other than fucking batshit. He looks at it like, how dare you not work for me, even though I'm not prepared to pay you
Mm-hmm.
what you can get elsewhere. You owe your entire life to me, and I can fire you, but you can't quit on me.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. If you were on trial for murder and they had me testify, See, like they come to me and say, "See, I was there the whole time. I seen everything happen." Okay, we're gonna bring you up on the stand. Did you see Dangerous Andrew murder that person? Nope, didn't see anything. I don't know what was going on. I wasn't even there. I wasn't even in the city. I was in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. He was in Vancouver. They'd be like, "What the fuck?" And then you're like, "Fuck that guy. He's a piece of shit for doing that. I can't believe he's."
Can't
It
believe
just
he would.
doesn't make sense to me. But anyway,
Uh,
they go over that. At this point, I'm like this on the couch, just trying to stay awake because I'm like, this is boring the living shit out of me. Where do we go from there? What's the next step they go? They do the steroid trial. They kind of talk. They get into WCW, which they actually acknowledge that Vince was a fucking moron for giving shit to WCW for taking his guys, because Vince did the same thing to everybody else in the '80s. And finally, they acknowledge that.
well, that's one of the things. Like, if you are a novice, if you don't know the history, this isn't necessarily a bad watch if you haven't already seen
Dark
the
Side of the Ring.
previous Dark Sides of the Ring.
Yeah,
If you haven't, this is great. It summarizes a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them,
yeah,
and it doesn't have that WWE filter
hmm
that the a similar documentary may have on the award-winning WWE Network, where Vince single-handedly took wrestling from smoky bar rooms, and
yeah.
WrestleMania 3 was the next day.
That stadium show, man. I'll tell you, that stadium show in Texas with the Von Airs, that was smoky. That bar was super smoky. It was
It
in
was
30,000
intense.
people in there, or like the Superdome that Mid South would do. Um, so they do that. They talk about the WCW thing. They're honest about it. Um,
I think I'm lagging again.
yeah. Well, we're gonna keep going. Just they can hear you. They just want to see you. It's not like we're showing anything, so they'll see you. So anyone watching, Andrew's lagging. Just deal with it. If it's bothering you, I don't care. Turn it off. Um, So they do that. Yeah, them two things not bad. I mean, they talked truthful about them. They fucked up. I mean, they were making tons and tons of money for a company that in 1996, like, I mean, dude, July '96, Hogan turns heel. That's for me. That's can't miss TV. Do you agree?
Yeah, and it really speaks volumes of the leadership of Eric Bischoff, that he was able to take a company that was as hot as possible in the professional wrestling world. Like, prior to that, you had the Rock and Wrestling,
Mhm.
Cyndi Lauper, Mr. T, Hulk Hogan era. And now, even then, that was more He-Man, G.I. Joe, She-Ra. That was geared towards the kids. The
Mhm.
NWO, the Austin, was geared towards an older crowd. And I mean, the NWO stuff is still either parodied or worn legitimately to this day. And Bischoff
You fucked it
being
up.
like I know I'm hopefully
No,
this
that's
is
fine.
going.
No, go ahead. It doesn't matter. Just keep going. You're back anyway. Keep going. I'm not
Um,
worried about the lag.
Bischoff taking that, and it would be like being a sports team and constantly trading away your first round picks for
Yeah.
free agents who have
Or
seen their
what?
better days.
Well, okay, let me argue this point. Now, I agree. I'm not disagreeing. That was later. That was in 98, 99. He started pulling that shit. But 96, man, like, even before NWO happens, it's edgier because you got the Savage and Flair is a little different, you know? They're feuding, but it's edgier. Liz is a heel, so it's different. And then NWO, man, that pops off. Man, from July 96 for me up till December '96, them few months, man, that's just like top of the line for me. I love it because I'm as a Hogan guy as a kid, Hogan as a heel. I'm a teenager. That's some cool shit. Because even me as a Hogan fan, around 91, 92, dude, that's just getting old real fast. You know what I mean? And when he
Well, I
turns
mean,
heel in '96, go ahead.
even look at Hogan's WCW career prior to NWO. You had
Oh,
the
it's
Flair
not great.
feud,
Yeah.
which was fine. They certainly did more to capitalize on the dream match than WWF ever did.
Oh fuck yeah, they did.
And then it just became really bad really fast, from the Beefcake feud to
Yeah.
completely taking Vader's balls away
Oh,
from
killing
him.
him, man. Jumping up from the power bomb. Like, are you serious, dude? This guy's been
and
killing people for years with the power bomb.
and the Dungeon of Doom, and it really felt like that Hogan contract was like an albatross. So they had to
Yeah.
figure a way to factor Hogan in, because he kind of existed in his own universe for a
Mhm.
period of time. It's kind of like Undertaker. Undertaker's
Yeah,
feuds were separate from like what Brett was doing, what Shawn was doing, what
yeah,
other people were doing. And so you had to appease Hogan. You had to make sure what he was doing was to his satisfaction. He had to go over, but in order to like weave it and make it compelling television, that was good. The problem was eventually Hogan, as a heel, had to show ass, had to put other talent over, and Hogan has a real issue with giving up his spot because he doesn't want to give up his money.
yeah. No, I agree. I'm just saying, like they were talking about WCW. That's what I wanted to really get at, and they actually did a good job at. It. They really went over it briefly, which I mean, I'd like to see a real WCW pay per view or a documentary, a real one, not a WWE one that always has them being bought out in the end by Vince. And I just love it, like that whole fucking demeanor. Because I remember when that happened, by the way, and I wasn't really an internet guy. I'm pretty sure I didn't know it got bought out. I think I just put it on. I was like, oh look at that. But I think I had idea. I heard rumblings of it. Um, so they talk about WCW Vince being down and out. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say for me, it kind of coincided with my personal life, but
Mm,
also creatively. When Russo went to WCW in October of '99, that was kind of the time period when I was also just freshly 19, so I was clubbing now for the first
yeah.
time.
By the way, people in
And
Canada, we can club at 19, not 21. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and the summer of '99 too, like even
Yeah.
before October of '99, summer of '99, it kind of felt like, hey, if I miss this, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Uh,
We're,
it's fine. And
we're fresh
it
out of high school, too. We're fresh out of high school. So,
it never went back to the I can't miss this. I have to make sure I'm doing this regardless of what else is going on. My
mhm.
social life took precedence over wrestling for the first time, and it had a lot to do with the fact that in 1999, Raw was fucking unwatchable with
Yeah, it
all
was
of the
horrible.
garbage going on.
Yeah, unless I know people don't think it was bad, but it was fucking bad.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
And WCW, after Spring Stampede, really started going down quickly
Yeah.
because I was a staunch WCW defender through it all, from the Ole Anderson era in '90 and Jim Herd to the Bill Watts stuff in '92 to Bischoff just getting the grasp of it in '93. I always preferred WCW to WWF,
Yeah.
and then 2000 happened, and Benoit and Guerrero and Saturn and Malenko come to WWF, and it was like the one thing that WCW always had over them was that, hey,
The wrestling.
no matter what else, they're better at the wrestling part, and that's the main part. It's not World Entertainment Federation, it's not World Championship Entertainment, as much as they want to call it sports
Yeah.
entertainment. It's still always going to be positioned as pro wrestling. To a non-wrestling fan, if you're watching it, they're not saying, "Oh, you're watching the sports entertainment." There, no, they're saying that's wrestling. And
Yeah.
once
Oh,
WCW lost those guys
oh, that was
in,
it.
oh, totally. But even before then, was it was skippable. You could miss it. If you
Mhm.
saw it, you saw it. Like if you were around, if you had nothing else to do, you'd watch it, but you weren't going out of your way, and you never went out of your way again.
Yeah. No, I agree. So they go over that and they talk with them going public, which is basically, if they didn't go public, they wouldn't be in this situation right now because Vince can do whatever the fuck he wants. So in the end, going public kills them because you gotta you can't do shit like this. They don't really talk about the XFL too much, surprisingly.
Yeah,
They
just a
bring it up
smidge.
quickly. They bring it quickly at the end. They don't bring up WBF, which is surprising. His failures don't get brought up too much. His failure to be a good husband and not a pervert that gets brought up, but I mean, it was what it was. I was disappointed. I thought it'd be 2 hours of the whole thing. Once I got about a half hour and I realized, oh shit, I'm watching a recap of Dark Side of the Ring. That's what I'm watching. And I just think the same premiere. I mean, you just grabbed a couple more talking heads. That's all you really did. Grab Meltzer and Alvarez. I
Yeah,
mean,
Brandon Thurston was on there, and then it was just a bunch of stuff from Dark Side of the Ring. I think Russo, Meltzer, Alvarez, and Thurston were the only ones to have new information, and it wasn't just stuff that if you already saw Dark Side of the Ring, you've already seen. Matthew Randazzo talking about Benoit, um, you know, what's his name? Stossel talking about being
Oh, he's a
slapped.
piece of shit. I wanted to bring that up. That motherfucker, man. I wish Stoltz would have cracked his head open. What a like I that guy. And listen, man, I am a wrestling fan, and I
Mhm.
know it's not real, and you know it's not real. But I'll tell you this. I know it's crazy. Don't it's like I get irritated by when I read like for example, I do work for the harnesses thing, so I go through a lot of old archives, and when I read people like talk about pro wrestling in the media back then, and they just make fun of it. Like if you don't like it, don't report it. Like don't be so insulting. And it's like with Stoltz, like he did that because he wanted to be a big cool guy and make a stupid comment, and he deserved every fucking hit, every hit he got from Stoltz. He deserved every bit of it for being a
Yeah,
piece
but
of shit.
Schultz didn't deserve to get fired over it,
Oh,
and
he
Vince
didn't. No, Vince told him
suffered
to
no
do it,
repercussions.
and that's Vince being a piece of shit. But Schultz definitely, I loved when he hit him. It's great. I love Fuji smiling. See Fuji in the corner smiling the whole time.
Yeah,
I forget who else is in the. You can see Fuji. I forget who
just
else.
food. Yeah.
Well, there's other guys against the wall, but you can't really see them. But the best one, Stoltz just goes. He goes on his hands and knees, basically crawling. It's like, don't be a piece of shit, man. And Eddie Mansfield, like doing that. It's just, yeah. But I mean, you know what? I will say this about it. I think Mansfield might have had, like, I think they were right when they said maybe he did want to get it unionized and defend the boys, but that's not the way you do it. You don't do that shit. Like, not back then. 85, you don't go on. It was 84, I think. You don't go
85.
on TV like that. What's that?
It was 85.
It was recorded in 84 because the
Mhm.
Stoltz thing that was recorded at MSG December of 84
Yeah.
because they showed a clip of Barry Windham beating Fuji. But
Well, it's funny because like I've said it before, I always get when I got into wrestling. Like I don't know exactly the exact date
mhm,
because like my third action figure was Andre the Giant. I remember having that at the Santa Claus parade, but
mhm.
that doesn't necessarily mean I got the Hogan one right because Hogan was the first, then Sheik, and then Andre. That's what got me into it. I know that my first ever memory of Hulk Hogan is seeing him and Mr. T promoting WrestleMania on either Today or Good Morning America, and
Yeah,
me thinking, "Hey, that's not Hannibal," because I was a big A Team guy,
yeah.
and I just thought this guy isn't Hannibal Smith. What?
Did you freak out
Who's
and
this?
punch the TV? Did you just lose your mind like Elvis shooting TV?
No, and I didn't put two and two together that that was the guy from the Dolls.
Yeah.
That was Hulk
Um.
Hogan.
So yeah, but and they go to that they jump into the Florida situation, which is really creepy. The thing he did in Florida, that poor lady in the tanning salon. Like talk about just your
He was just trying
typical.
to have some fun. You know, boys
Yeah,
will be
I'm
boys.
just groping you and showing you naked pictures of myself and put my hand up your shirt. Like, listen, dude, I love the ladies. Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I'm a single man. Okay. I had this girl that I'm dealing with over a tape thing. She's not going to see this, and she does. She's a very pretty girl. I'm not going to walk up to her and just put my hand up her shirt. Like I'd expect to get either punched in the face or arrested to do something that fucking stupid and that ignorant and that disgusting. I'll just creep her on Facebook until she asks.
Yeah.
But anyway, the, the fact that he didn't get charged for that is out of this world. And then they talk about the women. Now the question is, who's the female wrestler that he settled with?
I don't want to speculate, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's most, if not all of them, that he at least tried something at some point with them.
Yeah, we have a manager
Every one
involved
of them,
also.
from
Go
the
ahead.
top to the bottom, every one of them, whether they're
Yeah.
married, whether their husband works for them as well, whether they're young, old, in between, if they exist, that and I'm not limiting that to just the ladies because hey, he's he's not your boy toy.
There's been
He's
rumors. Yeah,
Vince's boy toy.
there's been rumors that he's been flirtatious with certain of the male wrestlers. But and I'm not putting anybody down for that. That's their choice.
Yeah.
If it's all consensual and go for it. Um, then they basically bring up the situation with the women, and now we got the new one that came out with Rita today. She's suing. There's another woman suing them. I think the woman from Florida suing them. Is that the one who's suing them?
I
The other
did
one?
like what Russo said, where Vince has never said that he didn't do it.
and then he doesn't come out at all at the end. He just
Yeah,
goes
and
away.
you like this is a guy who, after Owen died,
Yeah,
snapped at that reporter and
yeah. I
couldn't.
don't like your tone.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't like your tone, and you know how defensive Vince gets if he thinks he's right. He
Yeah,
never like tried to say that these women are lying. He
yeah. No,
could.
he's no, he's. I still predict the man's gonna go to jail. I still think he's gonna go to jail. I think he's gonna like all them old like WWE spots where Vince will get arrested on TV. That's gonna really happen.
Like, you're over the age of 21. You should know by now that if you're rich and powerful, nothing bad really happens to you.
Really? Have you seen
He's
the
gonna
people?
die. He's gonna die before he serves a
Hey,
minute,
Bill Cosby went to jail.
and he's not there anymore.
That's true. That is true. He's not there anymore. Jeffrey Epstein went to jail. He had lots of money. You
Yeah,
know.
and he didn't kill himself too.
All right, never mind. That's. I'm not going to argue this case with you. Can't talk about killing yourself on YouTube, by the way. That's
Oh
on your
right, yeah,
opinion.
he
That's
didn't
on
unalive himself. That
yeah,
was
he unalived himself. But anyway, we'll finish up here. We're about a half hour in. So, yeah, I mean, like Ainer said, if you haven't seen Dark Side of the Ring, definitely check it out. If you have, you're not going to miss much, man. You're really not missing anything at all,
and
unfortunately.
honestly, it may be completely out of date by tomorrow. I mean, Vince may wind up being back in charge, and they're gonna have to do another one. You watch, man. Crazier things have happened. Vince
They
McMahon
won't put
goes
him back in.
just
The,
purely
the,
to see what happens with Lord Steven Riedel.
they rumors started, the stock dropped pretty quickly. Russells will start quitting quickly. I mean, these guys
Well, I
have
mean, if he
gotten
wants to, there's nothing anybody can do. He's still the majority stockholder.
the thing. Oh, that's fine. But I'm saying these guys that want nothing to do with this company came back when he left. If he goes back, dude, you're just like Regal be like, no, I'm out. Fuck this. See ya. I'm leaving. I'll go back to EW. You know, I can't see Khan not taking him back. It's not like him and Khan had a bad falling out.
Yeah, it'd be funny if he, if he thinks, okay, well, my friend Paul's in charge. I'm going to be a vice president. I'd like to go over there, and my son works for them, and I want to be.
It makes total sense why he wants to be there. I completely agree with the guy. Why wouldn't he want to be there? You get a
It
vice
would
president
be
role, you don't have to be on
hilarious
TV.
if Vince came back and said, who the fuck hired Raven?
It's like what movie is it? Horrible Bosses 2. You ever seen it?
No, I haven't. No.
It's actually not bad. But anyway, they're pitching a meeting to the sales guy's big wig at a company. The guy's like, yeah, I'm down. I'll give you like da 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 da. And then the fuck are you doing in my office? Told you to get out of my office. I'm coming in here. And that's gonna be like Vince with trips. I told you to get the fuck out of my office. Get out of here. Take your little idiots with you. Now bring Joy and Laurinaitis back. Bring them back. So, and I mean that's the guy they didn't talk about at all in the documentary because I mean
That's
Johnny
true.
Boy,
Well,
he
maybe
is in
maybe
like
they're saving that for part two.
man that guy. Did she divorce him? I'd assume the wife divorced him.
I don't know.
Well, we got confirmation that Vince and Linda have not been together since 2012.
At least
There's a chance you can get a hold of Linda, maybe set up a date with her.
I don't know. I
Maybe
don't
she
think I make enough money for Linda McMahon.
maybe she can buy a new computer where it won't fucking lag the whole goddamn
I
thing.
know. We end this. This is a great show. We're gonna don't forget Newsstand versus Newsletter, Abyss to Zinc, and all that shit.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe. We have 100 subscriber. We'll do a random draw for 3 months of YouTube Premium. And trust me, kids, you fucking need YouTube. We're just gonna tease you. We're almost helping YouTube out here because if you never had YouTube Premium, we give you 3 free months. You're never going back to regular YouTube ever,
Never.
like ever. But anyway, that was it. Yes, that's the end of the reaction show for the 9 Lives, aka Best and Dark Side of the Ring of Vincent Mann. We'll see you again very soon, kids, on another episode of probably Newsstand versus Newsletter or Abyss Inc. So thank you for watching and have a great evening.